Hi, this is Chris Lewis, and today I'm going to be showing you what you need to build your own solar panel. I recently got a product off the internet I was going to just evaluate and try, and so this is me evaluating and trying it and seeing how everything works out with the building of my own solar panel. So today I'm just going to show you some of the tools that you'll need. First of all, you'll need something to put the panel in. I'm using a large picture frame that I got for $10 from Goodwill, and some of the instructions will have you using plexiglass with a metal frame around it. You can use that, or you can use a reused picture frame and recycle even a little more. And so you will need something to put the panel in, to actually be the panel, and we'll seal it later, so it'll be airtight and watertight, but just something with a glass front or plexiglass or something like that, something fairly durable. And then you're going to need a bunch of these here, and this is a package of solar cells, and this is what they look like from the front and from the back. And these little white squares are where you're going to solder the connecting wire, as well as along these white strips on the front here. These are very delicate, by the way, so and you can see how reflective they are as well. And there are videos on YouTube of people snapping these just to show you how easy it is to do. I'm not going to do that because I need these, but you know, look up one of those videos if you want to see how delicate they are, because they really are pretty delicate, so handle them with kid gloves. And the next thing you're going to need is a soldering iron. This is one I picked up for $5 off of eBay, and it works pretty good. So, you know, use one if you have one. Go on eBay, get one of these, go to your local Radio Shack, doesn't really matter. Get a $5 or $10 soldering iron. And you want one, this is one that uses a little bit less heat, because we're going to be working with a solder that melts a bit more easily, so this is the lower powered version. Set that aside. Then you're going to need some flux, and I have this in a bag just to keep it sealed, a Ziploc bag. I'll take it out and show you here. And this I actually got from eBay as well. Radio Shack, at least the one in my area, only seems to have the flux that comes in a paste form, which is kind of hard to use with these solar cells. So this is a liquid flux. It's lead-free, non-acid, non-toxic, so says the label anyway, and non-corrosive. I'm still going to use it outside where there's plenty of ventilation, but this is supposed to be a non-toxic flux, so I would certainly recommend that. And it's made specially for solar cells. And you can use other fluxes on solar cells, but this is made particularly for them, so it'll work a little better, more smoothly. And the name on the label is Hughes, H-U-G-H-E-S, Solar Energy. So if you want to get this kind, I'm not an affiliate for this flux or anything like that. I just am using it, so that's one flux that you can use, or you can check out others, whatever works for you. Then I'm using a flux pen. This is basically like a tiny little paintbrush at the end. It's supposed to be refillable. I've had a little difficulty actually filling it, so I'm just dipping it in the flux. I'll put the flux in a little dish, and then I just dip it and brush it on, and that seems to work just fine. And it's actually a little more convenient than trying to squeeze the pen and get the right flow and everything. But if you want to try filling it, it does come apart. And so theoretically, you know, you can fill this, take it apart and fill it, but I just found that to be too much trouble to try to get it in there, so I'm just dipping and brushing just like a paintbrush, and that's working for me. Okay, next thing you're going to need is a few of these. I got a package of 10 6-amp blocking diodes, and here it is up close. A blocking diode is a little thing that allows electricity to flow one way but not the other. So this will basically allow the electricity you generate with your solar panel to flow from the panel to whatever you're powering with it, a battery bank or your home power supply or your radio or flashlight or laptop or whatever it is, but not back. In other words, if you didn't have these, the electricity might flow back into the solar panel when there's no sun, and you could lose power. So these prevent that. So you're going to have one of those per solar panel. I've got 10, so I've got enough for 10 panels. I've only got enough solar cells right now to build about 3 panels, so I'll be getting more of those in the future. And then we have, of course, solder, and this comes in a little case like so. And this I also found on eBay. It's specially made for making solar cells, and it's got silver in it, and it's lead free, which I definitely recommend. You don't want to be putting lead into the air and breathing that awful stuff and getting it all over your hands, because it is toxic. So I got some lead free solder, and it's a type of silver alloy. And let's see, what else do you need to know about it? It's a very thin gauge, because you'll only need a tiny bit. Here's the solder compared to the size of the space you'll be soldering, so it's almost the same size. So you only need a teensy bit of solder per cell. And then back here, just to show you that. And actually there's another thing that we'll be using to solder these here, and I'll show you that in a second. But this is just very, very thin solder, and very easy to bend. And it melts very easily too, very, very easily. I've soldered some things with it already, and it's just extremely easy to use. And just so you know, if you have any solder laying around the house, you might want to check and see whether it's electrical solder or plumbing solder, because there are different kinds. You can solder copper pipes together, or you can solder delicate little electronic components together, and so you want to make sure to get the electronic version. Then there is this. They call it tabbing wire, and it looks quite a bit like the solder, except it's just like a thin strip of what looks kind of like metal tape, and this is what we're going to use on this. And the tabbing wire actually already has solder on it, so you're only going to be using the actual solder in a few places. And the tabbing wire we're going to solder along here, and then along the backs of these. And that's what's going to connect the solar cells together into a panel. And then after each, let me roll this back up here, after each row of solar cells, you're going to need to connect the rows together to make the whole panel. And this will become apparent as you see them actually doing it. By the way, if you want to, get this out of here. If you want to know how step by step to make your own solar panel, there's a great product that I'm recommending that you can find out about it. I've got a link down in the description below this video, so you can find out about it there, and they'll give you the actual step by step how to go through everything and actually build it. So I'm just showing you a bit about my experience here. I'm not going to give you the whole step-by-step because it would be just incredibly long and complicated, and I don't have that much time to film. So this is bus wire, and this is like the tabbing wire, but it's a little wider and a little bit thicker, and it can carry a higher voltage. So we're going to use this to connect all the rows of solar cells together. So you have the tabbing wire connecting each cell together in a row of several cells. Then you're going to connect several rows together with this bus wire, and then this is going to connect to the cable going out from the solar panel and to whatever your power source is. Whatever you're powering with it, your home power supply or your battery bank or whatever it is. So that's basically it. I've also got some safety things here, some rubber gloves. Whenever I'm working with electricity, I just like to have rubber gloves. They help to keep you from getting shocked, or at least getting shocked too badly, in case you accidentally happen to get shocked. And this is an old eye cup that didn't fit my eye, so I'm using that to keep the liquid flux in and dip my pin brush in, like so. And it is glass, by the way. And then, you know, always want to protect my lungs. These don't block everything, but you know, anytime I'm working with anything with some sort of fumes or particles that it puts off, and the flux, when it evaporates, will put off some fumes. This, according to the label anyway, is safer than most fluxes, but I still want to hedge my bets and be safe, so I always wear a mask. And then I just got a little one of these. It's a little syringe without the needle, and I'm going to use that if I need to. I don't even know if I'll really need to suck up the flux and put it wherever I need. I'm not even really sure where I got it, because this has a little top that opens like so, and you can squirt it into whatever container you're using. So I probably won't even need this here, but just in case. And looks like that's it. That's pretty much all you need to build your own solar panel. And a lot of this stuff you will use multiple times, like the solder, and there's enough tabbing wire and bus wire and solder here for several panels. I have enough cells here. I have 2 packages like this, so that's enough for about 3 whole panels, and plus maybe a little left over, and I have enough diodes for 10 panels. So most of this you only have to buy once, and if you want more panels, just get another picture frame or build another frame with plexiglass, however you're doing it, and just get more cells. So the initial investment is, depending on where you get your stuff, $80 to $150 to get all of this stuff. And after that, if you want to build more panels, then each additional panel after that will probably be, you know, $30 to $50, maybe up to $80 if you're getting your cells from a real expensive place or something. But you can find a lot of people on eBay actually selling these supplies specifically intended for making solar panels. Even this flux pin is sold for making solar panels. It's, you know, the right size and the right configuration and everything exactly for what you need for making solar panels. So you can find most of this stuff on eBay. I looked at my local Radio Shack. They had a couple things, but they didn't really have the stuff I was looking for. I mean, they can only carry so much in a store at one time, and unless they have a huge number of people making their own solar panels, they're not going to bother carrying the stuff. So I would suggest looking online for all of this, and I found the best deals really are on eBay. So, you know, scout around, check the seller's feedback rating, look for the best deal, and I would suggest getting it on eBay, because that's just a great place to find a good deal, which is where I got almost all of this. In fact, really about the only things I didn't get there are these and this, which I already just had laying around. And a lot of places you can get a tax break for making your own solar panels, and you can find out about that. They have some documents online. I think the product I'm giving the link to also has documents, or if you want to know where to get those, I think you can just go to the IRS website and look around a bit. I'll try to find a link to the actual documents that you use to claim the tax break and put that in here too, but in case I can't find it, you can Google it, or, you know, find it whatever way you can online. But it's just it's a government tax form, so you should be able to get it at the IRS website. And I think that's just about it. I'm building solar panels to hopefully make a healthier world for my children and my grandchildren, as well as me. I had some lung issues growing up. I've healed them with natural healing, and I don't have breathing problems anymore. But the cleaner the air is, the fewer people are going to have problems like that. So because I really sympathize with them, having been in that situation myself, and thousands of people die every year from asthma, and just from asthma. I mean, not even including lung cancer. So, let's clean up the air and start using solar energy, wind energy, and any other really clean, environmentally friendly energy that we can. And some of them appear to be totally clean, but they have some disadvantages in other ways. But let's just use the best option, whatever the best option happens to be. Right now, for me, it's looking like this is it. So I'm going for this, and I'm going to build several panels, and hopefully power my whole house on them and be off-grid. That's my goal. So some power companies in some areas even give you the option of feeding energy back into the grid when you're not using it, and they'll pay you for that. And some areas that's available, some areas it's not. Check with your power company. They'll tell you if you can sign up for something like that or not. But some places people are actually getting a check from the power company every month and not paying anything because they're generating such a surplus over what they use. They just feed it back into the grid and contribute to their neighbor's power supply. So how awesome would it be if we all did that and made a little surplus solar energy? Most of the time when you install a solar system, I love that word, solar system, makes it sound like something, Star Trek-y, but a solar electric system. Most of the time they'll recommend that you install just a tiny bit less than what you need so you can draw that little bit more from the grid, and you can be mostly off-grid, but you'll just use it to supplement every once in a while, and you'll save a little bit of money on the initial installation. But since you're saving like 80 to 90% of what you would ordinarily pay for solar panels by building your own, I would suggest make a little, enough to supply a little more power than you're going to use if you have the option of feeding it back into the grid, because then maybe we can actually contribute beyond just our own house and have more individual homes and businesses generating power for the whole grid. And maybe we can get off of coal and oil and all the things that are really pumping huge amounts of sludge into our air that way. That would be what I would consider the ideal if you can afford it. And now, thanks to building your own solar panels, I think you can afford it, because each panel being less than $100, if you go to buy them retail, it's like $800 to $1,200 per panel, which is just ridiculously prohibitive. And most people can't afford that. I can't afford that right now. That's why I'm building my own. So stay tuned, and I'll be giving you updates and showing you my progress on making my own solar panel. And hopefully very soon here the weather will cooperate and I'll be able to get outside and do some soldering. And I'll show you all my progress, and you'll see how it goes. And I'll show you the finished product, and then I'll even show you it installed once I get it installed. So in case you were wanting to find someone who is actually doing this themselves, I'm doing it, and you'll be able to keep up and see my progress and see how it goes for me and see how easy it can be for you. So stay tuned for the next update, and until then I will say sayonara and have a happy, healthy day, and make for a healthier environment and make healthier environmental choices. Ta-ta.